Hello and welcome. My name is Penny Meckley Porter. I am a therapist here at Thrive Therapy Space in Erie, PA, and I love to teach people about mindfulness. Thanks for being here today. This is number 7 in a series of 9 little talks and meditations on ants, also known as automatic negative thoughts. So, I do want to remind you, perhaps you've seen some of the others. They're all on the Jefferson Facebook page and on their website and on their YouTube video channel. Anyway, perhaps you've seen some of the others, but what I do want you to know about automatic negative thinking is it's perfectly normal. It happens pretty naturally, unfortunately, because it really does impede our lives in various ways. Because when we get caught up in our negative thoughts and we believe kind of our negative thoughts to be true, and we don't question our negative thoughts, when those things happen, we are more stuck in our lives in various ways. We often feel more anxiety than we would if we were better able to question our negative thinking. We often feel more depression, for sure. We often get angry faster. We feel more defeated when we're not questioning our automatic negative thoughts. So, today we're talking about what we call mind reading and fortune telling, which is also, those two are kind of a subset of jumping to conclusions. So, today we're talking about jumping to conclusions. So, jumping to conclusions is one of the most common forms of negative thinking. It's a cognitive distortion. So, all of these ants we're talking about, another way of talking about them is calling them cognitive distortions. So, it's another cognitive distortion where conclusions are negative, often kind of catastrophically negative. So, and they're often like fear-based. So with mind reading, basically I make assumptions about other people and what other people are thinking or feeling, even as if I'm reading their mind. And rarely do we make positive assumptions. Okay, picture yourself out someplace in public and somebody looks at you kind of like, I don't know, looks at you, does a little bit of a double take. Your automatic assumption is that they're thinking something negative about you, not that they're thinking, oh, you look really nice today, or your suit matches your tie really well, or I don't know, they like your hair, right? No, we often assume that people are thinking negative stuff about us. We rarely assume that they're thinking something positive. So we make these assumptions about what people are thinking about us and also about what they might be feeling about us. So, for example, perhaps you assume that you want to ask somebody on a date and she'll turn you down. Just kind of assume. Assume she doesn't like you. Assume someone's not going to like an article you wrote. They're going to think it's dumb. People are focused on imperfections, right? So, I don't know. I don't like my wrinkles up here. And if I really start to focus on my wrinkles, then I can start to assume, I can start to think that everybody's noticing my wrinkles. I can think that people really pretty much don't respect me, or they think I'm kind of dumb, but the reality could be completely different. And often is, it generally is completely different, right? So when we get caught up in projecting these thoughts onto other people, the reality is different. We don't actually know what other people were thinking, right? Like, I mean, I don't know, if you really could read minds, I don't know, that'd be a pretty powerful kind of thing. So we don't know what people are thinking about us. It doesn't pay to assume they're thinking the worst. Though it is true that sometimes people won't like you, or that sometimes people will be judging you. But that's often far less often than we kind of assume. Another thing is, as we become more aware of this automatic negative thinking that we do, then we become more able to make a choice about what we want to focus on. So do I want to focus on the people who I do know support me? And there are some people in my life who do support me, and I don't know, generally think I'm relatively smart and have some good ideas, relatively good ideas. I don't know, what do people think about me? Maybe people think I'm relatively creative, right? And so these are things that I think are true about the people who really support me. So what if I spend my time trying to focus on them and that positivity, so I can maybe be aware of what some of my strengths are? Or when I focus on my perception of these negative people, it feels completely different. So, as I was saying, as we get better at recognizing our negative thinking, and for in this example, recognizing that I'm kind of mind reading negatively people's thoughts about me, then perhaps I can get better at steering away from that and not over focusing on it. Because when I over focus on it, it just feels so true. So that's a little bit about mind reading. Let's also talk about fortune telling. Fortune telling is a relative of mind reading. Fortune telling happens when we predict that things will turn out bad. Maybe we even think it's set in stone. And like, again, it's always negative. Rarely are we predicting the positive. And then it also impacts our feelings and choices about whether we want to move forward. Let's say you have a business idea, or you have an idea about a women's group or a mom's group, and you want to move forward with that. But in your mind, you're like, oh, nobody would come anyway. It wouldn't work. I wouldn't have enough money to launch it. These are all just assumptions about what's going to happen. For example, I just know I'm going to fail my exam. Or a friend was telling me recently about being so sure. She had a medical exam coming up and something was she needed to have it retested. And she was so sure that things were going to go wrong. She felt like she had an instinct about it. She had a feeling about it, and she was so sure that the results of that second test were going to be really bad. And then she just thought she really had to prepare herself for that because the results were going to be really bad. Well, then after the second test, everything was actually fine. But then she'd spent a lot of time really kind of stuck in that place where she was sure things were going to be really bad. See what I mean by fortune telling? She was telling the future, but she was wrong. Let's say that it's possible we're right. So it's, of course, was possible that that second set of tests could have had a very bad conclusion. It is possible. But oftentimes the possibility is a very small percentage. So here, let's just say this represents 100% sure that something is going wrong, or I don't know what I'm trying to say. This just represents 100%. What fear does, because we are talking about fear makes it look like it's like 100% sure going to be a bad outcome. Well, actually, there's a chance that it's a bad outcome, but the chance of it being a bad outcome is actually generally pretty small. But fear misrepresents and make it seem this likely, 99% sure that I'm going to have a bad test result. Whereas in actuality, it may be 5% sure or 2% sure. So that's the fortune telling. Right, like some of the others we've talked about, of these automatic negative thoughts, there generally is not data to support it. So if I'm in the grocery store and somebody kind of looks at me twice, and I assume they're looking at me because my hair is too gray, or I'm really wrinkled, my face is wrinkled, then perhaps that's true, but I didn't ask them. They didn't tell me that. They kind of looked at me twice. Maybe I look like maybe I look like somebody in their life. There really could be many other possible explanations, but that's not what my brain is going off to. My brain is just going off to the worst. Without data, without having even considered other explanations. So, right, back to one more point. They are often fear-based. Mind reading, fortune telling are fear-based. You probably do some mind reading. You probably do some fortune telling, because most of us do. And we're talking about it today so we can start to realize more often when we're doing it, and then bring our brain back to something else. Maybe just bring it right back to our body, or be able to say, oh, that's mind reading. There's an example of it. Or fortune telling right there, and then not jump down that rabbit hole, right? Okay, because something can be a whole nother topic, but something can be a rabbit hole, right? So if my brain says, oh my God, the rest of this test, it could come back completely negative, it really could be a rabbit hole, because then I could start thinking about it, thinking, talking about it with everyone. What am I going to do when I get this horrible diagnosis? How am I going to tell my kids? How am I going to tell my family? It's a rabbit hole, right? But if I can say, whoops, that is fortune telling, I don't have the data, I'm best just to stick in the present moment and not go down that rabbit hole. Now, it's not always easy to not go down the rabbit hole. It's often difficult to not go down the rabbit hole, but it's 100% valuable to make those efforts to recognize and make your best efforts not to go down the rabbit hole. So, how do we stop mind reading and fortune telling? I'd like to say the first thing is to be mindful. Use your mindfulness skills. Try to notice your thoughts. Try to notice your emotions. And then ask yourself, could this be proven in court? Am I sure what that person was thinking when they did a double take in the store? Am I really sure I'm going to fail the exam? I might have a feeling that I'm sure. It's going to be really related to fear and anxiety. But I don't know, if I passed, 20 exams recently, maybe I'm in college and I just passed 20 exams, but my brain says I'm going to fail this one, I may or may not. It's not 100% sure. So ask yourself, could it be proven in court? Is there data to support it? And keep practicing. So let's explore. We will explore a time recently where you thought something would go wrong, or you thought someone was judging you. Maybe you even knew something would go wrong, and you knew someone was judging you. Well, at least you had that automatic negative thought. So I would like you to sit comfortably in your chair, somewhat erect, but also comfortable. Feet flat on the floor. Close your eyes, if that's comfortable. Close your eyes. And bring your awareness to your breath. Perhaps in your chest cavity, there's the inhalation and the exhalation. Bringing your awareness to your breath. Perhaps you're noticing your breath right there at your nose, the inhalation, the exhalation. You're just sitting with yourself, noticing your breath. I'm glad you took time out of your day to be here. This is something you're doing for yourself. And perhaps you can even have some gratitude to yourself for taking some time out of your day to learn more about automatic negative thoughts. So a sense of gratitude to yourself for taking the time. Good. Now I'd like you to feel your feet on the floor. Feel your body against your chair or couch. So you're feeling yourself anchored against the chair and or the floor. Hopefully you feel like you're someplace safe right now and you can relax. Now I'd like you to bring your awareness to a recent time you thought someone was judging you, or you were pretty sure something was going to go wrong. So if you've thought of a time recently, then rather than keep thinking about the time in particular and getting caught up in all kinds of thoughts about it, we're bringing it into your awareness, sitting with it, and then bringing your awareness into your body, because there's going to be some kind of way you feel about it. There will be some thoughts you have about it, but also some feelings. What are the feelings that you have? You're noticing in your body. See if you can tell. Is the feeling or are the feelings about this situation when you were in this situation? What were you feeling? Was it fear at all? Maybe it was being sure. Could have been being sure. Or fear, anxiety. Perhaps dread. So there could be any number of feelings you had. And you're just kind of like looking at them now. Seeing, can you feel, can you recall how you were feeling? Very well could have been some feelings that I did not mention, of course. I'd like you to notice where you felt those in your body. Perhaps in your stomach, perhaps in your chest, perhaps in your shoulders, your hands, your arms, or someplace else. It could be in your head. So you kind of know we've been noticing what feelings you had, where you felt those feelings in your body. Noticing anything else that was going on for you. Did you feel like, yeah, I'm having a great day. I really want to move forward. I want to try something new. So to me, that's kind of an energetic feeling. Or did you have maybe a heaviness or a sense of immobility, a sense of not wanting to move forward, a sense of maybe kind of withdrawing or feeling small? So when I feel judged, I feel small. and I don't really want to move forward. So let's just sit with that briefly. How did it make you feel when you were kind of projecting your expectations of what someone was thinking about you? So you were mind reading, or perhaps fortune telling. And as far as your behaviors go, what did it make you want to do? Shrink? That's the word for me, shrink. So I want you to bring your awareness back to your breath. Noticing your inhale and exhale. Noticing your body on your chair, your feet on the floor. If you'd like to, take an extra big inhale and an extra big exhale. Or any other breath that you particularly like. I love that one. A really big inhale and a big exhale, that feels really good to me, but you can take a breath that you really like. And when you're ready, open your eyes. I wish I could ask you about what experience you just went back to. Whether you're able to notice some of your thoughts from that experience. Some of your feelings from that experience. Your emotions, and then some of the feelings in your body from that experience. And even kind of how it made you feel like acting. Whether it made you shrink, withdraw, feel small, not take action, get extra quiet. But I'm interested in what your thoughts and feelings were about this exercise. So let's see. What you could do for homework is just be noticing your mind reading and fortune telling. Just be open to this possibility and probability that you do it, because we all do. Be open to noticing where it is in your life. You might not notice it in the moment, but later on you might notice it. You could be kind of even watching other people to see if you think other people do it. Not because you have to teach them about this and you have to get them not to do it. No, that's not your agenda. Your agenda is just to be learning more about this. And if you do notice it in yourself, or when you notice it in yourself, do your very best at not judging yourself. Instead of this, like, oh my God, there I am doing that. Oh my gosh, how long have I been doing this? That's really dumb. Why would I do that? No, none of that. Instead of judging yourself, you're like, whew, wow, who knew? I'm doing this. I must be like other people who do this also. You're just noticing with a curious and inquisitive mind, doing your very best not to be judging yourself. And like I said earlier, as you get better at noticing, then you can make more of a choice about whether you want to act on your mind reading and fortune telling, or whether you don't want to act on that. You could just act like things are fine. You could act like, I don't know, people do kind of like you. You could act like people think you're fine. You could act like things might work out for the better, rather than acting on the negative thoughts. Anyway, that's it for this one. Next week we will be talking about taking things personally. I'd like to say thank you to the Jefferson Educational Society for hosting me. I'd like to say thank you to you for coming today, and I look forward to seeing you next week at noon at the Jefferson Educational Society Live Facebook feed.